With the rise in attention to the health benefits of cannabis and cannabinoids, including CBD, True Hemp Science has become one of the premier providers of full-spectrum CBD and CBD-related products. Using a proprietary spagyric process, True Hemp Science extracts maximum benefit from the whole hemp plant. Buds, leaves, stems, seeds, even roots. Every part of the plant is used and then reused to formulate a rich, complex profile of CBD, CBD derivatives, and terpenes guaranteed to provide the relief and benefits you need daily. Visit TrueHempScience.com to experience the best CBD oils, edibles, and topicals on the market today. And use code CURIOUS7 to save 7% off your entire purchase of $50 or more and get 2 25 milligram CBD cookies or brownies free. That website again is TrueHempScience.com and the code is CURIOUS7. The Curious Realm Podcast is your source for the latest and greatest news and events in the world of the paranormal, esoteric, and forbidden knowledge. And there's no better way to spark the conversation than with items from the Curious Realm store. Choose from fan favorites like hoodies, mouse pads, coffee mugs, and more. Buy books and items from your favorite Curious Realm guests. Get your hands on the latest gear for paranormal investigations and experiments we discuss on the show. Open your web browser and stop on by the Curious Realm store at curiousrealm.com/store to buy the latest Curious Realm wear and out-of-this-world gifts for yourself, your family, or a mind that you want to open. That website again is curiousrealm.com/store. Have you considered starting a podcast? Looking for a way to make your business a voice of authority in an industry? Then Podcast Cadet is the solution for you. Whether starting a podcast for yourself, your brand, business, school, church, or just plain fun, Podcast Cadet is here to help you navigate the waters of the podcast industry. Specializing in one-on-one consultation and training with industry professionals in fields ranging from podcast technology and editing to distribution, monetization, and even social media strategies. Podcast Cadet tailors their services to the specific needs of you and your podcast. Do you already have a podcast and trying to find ways to engage and grow your audience? Sign up for your Podcast Cadet audit today and let us help you explore new and exciting ways to leverage your content and elevate your podcast brand to whole new levels. From consultational workshops to affordable podcast production and maintenance packages, Podcast Cadet is your one-stop shop for everything podcast related on the internet. Visit podcastcadet.com today to sign up for your consultation or training and use code CURIOUS20 to save 20% off your entire purchase. That website again is podcastcadet.com. Welcome back to the second part of episode 19. Wow, it doesn't really seem like we are 19 episodes in already, and well over 30 hours of content. Thank you so much to everyone who listens. Thank you so much to everyone who supports the show, as well as our sponsors who we just came in from break from, as well as our special live streaming sponsor, WebWorks Wireless. WebWorksWireless.com is where you can go to find all of the fantastic stuff from WebWorks Wireless. They provide live streaming. They provide internet for your home, camp, all kinds of things. Stop on by, check them out. Truly unlimited wireless packages. WebWorksWireless.com is the website that you want to go to. And while you are online checking that out, please do make sure to stop on by and check out the amazing website of our latest sponsor, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, our guest. The Secret of Everything. Secretofeverything.com is the website. Tonight, our topic with the amazing Dr. Kimberly McGeorge is remote viewing. What is remote viewing? Why did our government look into it? Can anybody remote view? Welcome to the show once again, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much.
I have been excited to do a show about remote viewing, well, probably since we ventured down the aisles of topics like this as our previous incarnation. And we have a lot of things in our knowledge vault, including the declassified documents from Project Stargate. Not a lot of people realize that our government spent millions upon millions of dollars for decades studying the art of remote viewing and the actual science of remote viewing. The fact that, yeah, it seems like just about anybody has this ability to be able to remote view, to be able to travel beyond and see things. So real quick, let's start getting into what remote viewing is and how people can do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I have a more comprehensive view probably of remote viewing than some people. I think we do it a little bit of a disservice by calling it remote viewing because people kind of have that fixed idea that, you can look at anything, go across the planet, bop in somebody's house, kind of see what's going on, or look at a murder site, or, there's a lot of different applications, or look at the lottery numbers, or, find hidden treasure, or find a lost item, or missing person, on. And all that is true. But I think that term remote viewing is so restrictive because what you're talking about, Project Stargate and all, even though they kept it kind of top secret, yada, yada, that's still the above budget operations of the military and the government. That's not the black ops budget where this stuff is just accepted as absolutely effing normal. And why is it normal? Because as I call people, anyone with a spirit in them, because not everybody has a spirit in them, prior creation spirits, we come from the all. So what can't we do? We can read minds. We can merge with all energies. So remote viewing, to me, there's a million ways to remote view. So most people, when you say the term, and I think you would agree with this, when you say the term remote viewing, most people think about the coordinate military type of style remote viewing, where we have a blind, coordinate, and then we draw, or, different ways the information comes in, but we present the information and then compare it to a target, yada, yada. But there's a lot of other ways. To me, out of body OBEs is a form of remote viewing. If you go out of your body or you project part of your consciousness, which is how I remote view, out of your body, that's remote viewing. I can go right now and be talking to you and walk around my daughter's houses, all four of them at the same time. So we also call that bilocating, trilocating, on and on. Yeah. Locating, that's part of remote viewing to me. Merging, if I can merge with you and become you and look out through your eyes and be you, is that not remote viewing? So there's a lot of types of remote viewing that are unknown or we don't consider. And a lot of people do have these abilities that I'm speaking of. Some people very easily, as a matter of fact, when I do scans, one of the most common things they find is nobody's in their body. Where are they? They're remote viewing wherever they are, whether they're creating it out of imagination, which of course here in the game, everything you can imagine is real. They're still remote viewing. Maybe they're thinking about a past relationship. Maybe they're thinking about a future vacation. Maybe they're dreaming of how they're going to spend their bonus check, but that's all remote viewing.
Absolutely. I mean, even the process of daydreaming and not physically being there is a form of remote viewing. And I we've talked about my son on this show before, Doctor, and his akin to my brain. And I have to tell him all the time, I know you're deep inside your brain right now.
I love it.
But there's everything going on out here too. And we need you out here, buddy. And it's so
I love
easy.
it. It's hilarious.
Well, I mean, I've got a little bit of I've got a touch of the ADD, ADHD, and it's one of those, I can see the propensities in him. So to be able to give him those coping mechanisms early, to be able to let him know, hey, it's okay that your brain works this way, kid. It's all right. You just need to learn to focus it. And I think that's a big part of what we're talking about here, is that, yes, everybody, it's like saying everybody can't meditate. Yeah, you can. It's just that what it takes for me to meditate is different than what it takes for you to meditate. It may take me 15 minutes longer to shut down my, quote, monkey brain, of, oh, is the laundry still going? Oh, did I do the dishes? Whatever it is that distracts your mind from the task at hand, be it putting your shoes on and getting ready for school, relaxing and meditating, or focusing on an object inside of an envelope that you've never seen.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things, when I teach meditation, which I don't teach formal meditation, I teach informal meditation, because really what we need to get, and the Buddhists will tell you the same thing, the Tibetans, a lot of the Eastern cultures and religions will tell you the same thing. What you need to get to a point to truly meditate is exactly what you said. I call it silent mind, quiet mind, still mind. We need to get to a point where you're not thinking about anything, because only then, when you have no thoughts, and a lot of people have, projected thoughts. No, a lot of people don't know this. I think I might have mentioned it before, but every single one of the cell phone towers has a switch that can become a programming tower, and they actually transmit the frequency of thoughts. So we're all under not only the collective consciousness of non-locality, so we all can actually hear everyone's thoughts if we choose to, or we tune into that frequency of that person and their thoughts. They're like whipping by us, just like everyone's always, I want more money, I want more money, I want more money. But, it's whipping by you in computer transmissions all day. Just reach out and grab some, hold your hand out and receive it. It's not hard to receive money, and that's a whole nother conversation. But it kind of, all ties into absolutely, in my opinion, the same thing.
Well,
but silent mind. Excellent point.
Yeah. It's about finding that space, and remote viewing specifically. I've been going through the document released, the declassified document. And like you said, what is declassified here and what we know about Project Stargate is just what has been put out on the up and up. It's just, it's what we know about that's been able to be declassified, because, it's been 30 years since the research, all kinds of things. It does not mean that a form of Project Stargate does not still exist. It does not mean that these means are not still used by the alphabet agencies of not just our government, but foreign governments. All of this started, at least our research, as a response to finding out that Russia was not only researching it, but actively having success. And it's really interesting to see the deep dive that our government took into researching this and into actively verifying it.
I guarantee you, every single government in the world, every single three-letter agency in the world, including, other agencies that don't have three letters, like Mossad, they all have very, very, very high-level remote viewers, and they use them for many, many different projects. That's ongoing. A lot of times, speaking of remote viewing or viewing, a lot of times I'll catch remote viewers in my house. And they have a certain frequency. That they're projecting, that they're not actually standing there, that they didn't, send out, a part of their body or appear or, locate, but they're, projecting a part of their consciousness to view a certain situation, for a certain agency or for a certain project, or they've been hired to monitor. So there's a lot to remote viewing, and you can actually view many different things, at the same time. You can also view past. You can also view future, because all time is now.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is the exact kinship to astral projection.
Yes.
And like you said, the idea that you can feel the presence of a remote viewer. You can tell when somebody is remote viewing your location. And that now, of course, that gets into our typical course of conversation that we have with you, Doctor, which is frequencies, strange frequencies, things like that. Being able to literally, same way as finding a sideband in a radio signal and going, oh, wow, listen to that. I can hear part of Australia while I'm listening to the news from San Antonio because of the storm. Same thing happens with data in our brains and even the transmission path of our thoughts. How easy is it for someone to remote view literally what's inside of our brain? I guess what would be the equivalent of telepathy?
Kind of. I mean, the way I always did it, which I don't do as much now because I have, of course, my lovely technology, and I've had it for a number of years, even in a different form. But I mean, I used to just merge with a person. So once I merge with a person, I can choose where to direct my attention. I can direct my attention to their thoughts or their emotions, or literally I can crawl around their body and be like, oh, wow, in the brain, there's some deep, dippy channels. This is an addict. And then I can go deeper and say, this is a drug addict. This is a sex addict. It has a different feel. It has a different frequency. But all sex addicts have the same frequency. So even though sexual addiction and alcohol addiction are two different frequencies, every brain feels exactly the same when you're in it, when you're merged with it, when you're crawling around in that body. It's just consistent, and of course, people will say, well, there's light sexual addiction, and then, then there's like perversion sexual addiction, or there's light, alcoholism, and then there's like, heavy, alcoholism. And of course, but I mean, again, it's in the same frequency range, and you can also see by how deep the divots are, or how low the brain chemicals are. So there's a lot of information you can put together. And really, everybody holds up psychics and remote viewers and all these things. But again, I'm going to say 100% of everyone has all these abilities. And again, it's so funny. We come down to this lower density, the 3D density that's so physical. And then we just want to go back out, and we want to go up to the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And you'll get your opportunity when you pass. Like, you can choose to come back here, or you can choose to move on to a different density and get your abilities back. But it doesn't mean we've lost the abilities. I think the problem is we don't remember who we are. Once you know who you are, you understand this reality, a lot of your memory, it's like this echo memory that you hold in your field that they block with memory wiping technology and all sorts of technology all the time to hold us down. It begins to come back, and then you can operate outside this reality. Then you can start creating your life that you want. I had a guy write me and say, I want to win the lottery. Well, just tapping him without even technology, I'm like, your money beliefs are insane. If you think you have to win the lottery to win money, I mean, your money beliefs are wrong. So, I mean, you can create anything you want within this reality. You just have to understand, first of all, the nature of this reality. Then you have to remember who you are.
Well, and the exact modality in which you live, like you said, you don't have to win the lottery to end your money woes. I think your focus is a little beyond.
Right.
And if you narrow and whittle that focus down to the difference between needs and wants, your needs can easily be cared for.
Absolutely. And then it also, obviously, with that question, we also know what else about him. We also know that he believes that money buys happiness. And I'm here to tell you, I have made, at times in my life, I have made tons more money than I'm making now. And I've been miserable because money doesn't buy happiness. Money doesn't buy health. Money doesn't buy good relationships. You think it does? It absolutely does not. It doesn't buy so much of what is really what we're seeking deep in our soul.
Yeah. And, just to loop back for a second, just a moment ago, quite literally, as you said, remote viewing is voluntary. I started scrolling past the page that said remote viewing is voluntary. I'm not even joking. It was weird. Or was it? Now, the reason I want to get into that real quick, because as you know, we have quite a bit of our audience that are TIs, targeted individuals, things like that. These are people that have been targeted by technologies. And I guess part of the question that I would have to ask, because of course, like we were saying, remote viewing can very easily be sensed, felt. If you are attuned to that, if you're attuned to remote viewing, you know how to do it. Now, the question is, whenever you say that you remote view into people, I assume the fact that, number one, yes, that has to be voluntary and at their will, that you can't just remote view like into the old lady shopping for grapes across the aisle, right?
No, you're right. No, I can merge with anyone, anything, any place, any tree, any animal, willing or unwilling. Very few people have the ability to have a psychic defense up against me because they don't even see me coming.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's part of what I would want to get into here real quick, and why I was asking the question is, what is the possibility? Because of course, when you're talking about spy tech, when you're talking about, hey, here's this random building at these coordinates, what's inside? Amazing for intelligence, but when you're talking about the opportunity to literally hide inside of somebody, observe their surroundings, affect their surroundings through them, and even affect their health or well-being. Man, that's an amazing weaponization of something that is utterly naturally occurring.
Well, and in higher dimensions, in the upper ET races, and I'm not talking 5D. I hate to tell you guys, 5D is still a lower dimension, and it's considered that way throughout all of the multiverse. It's still considered a physical lower dimension. You have to get above 5D. But starting in about 5D, 6D, and above, everyone above, they don't talk as much as we do because they remain half merged, literally half merged, half connected all the time. So you know if someone's going to be late for dinner. You know if somebody's out flying in a jet around the galaxy and, they got caught up and they're going to be, 3 hours late. Like there's a merging because as we go up in the dimensions, we head back to the all. And the all is the all. We are all part of each other if we're fire, creation, spirit. Again, clones and empty vessels and empty tree. Not every animal has a spirit. Not every tree has a spirit. Not every person has a spirit. But if you do have a spirit, we all come from these same things. The only thing that differentiates us is point of view. But we all are all powerful, have all the abilities, have all knowledge, all time and all space, past, present, and future. So apply that to psychic abilities. You, for some reason, aren't remembering that for probably trillions of years, you did remote view, you did merge with people, you did have, as you said, telepathy. And I also think we attribute psychic abilities because the governments and the military hide so much advanced technology from us. So most people don't know that every single pet they own is weaponized. Every single pet in your house has eye implants, 100%. So you don't even know that you have these sweet little fuzzy furry kissy dogs taking pictures of you while you're going to the bathroom, while you're naked, while you're getting dressed, while you're having sex, while you're picking your nose, whatever you guys do that you think nobody sees. Your light bulbs are weaponized. Your fire alarms are weaponized. Why do you think they require it? Do you think the government cares about your safety? If you do, I have a lot of swampland in North Carolina. I will start telling you. They don't care about your safety. There's a reason they have these rules and building codes. Of course, it's to make money. But it's also to get their spy high-tech equipment into your homes.
Sure.
Sorry.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the things because, of course, once again, you can use frequency sweepers. You can use all kinds of things to find devices, things like that.
Absolutely.
But like you said, there's no, and like the document said, no real defense against remote viewing. Now,
there's not. There's no real defense against a high frequency being who remembers who they are and is in their full power. And I hate to say it. I mean, there's really no defense against me. I mean, as a matter of fact, today I'll give you an example of something that happened. I am a targeted individual. We've talked about it before. I'm a very heavily targeted, I wonder why, individual. And I have a left ear implant that's been identified. I've seen it. The doctors have seen it. We all play games and call it an anomalous thing, that they don't know what it is. So I just play the game like, they're not going to be honest with me. But they turned up my ear implant this afternoon. You know what I did? I followed the frequency of the being person. In this case, it's not always a person, but it was a person turning up my ear implant. And I'm not going to tell you what I did because it wasn't very nice. I immediately went into astral battle and started doing certain things to this person's family and this person's property. It took 2 seconds for them to turn off my ear implant that was squealing. So that's part of remote viewing too, following the frequency, being able to defend yourself against enemies, all kinds of enemies, whether they're in the third dimension, whether they're in the 12th dimension, whether they're the Galactic Federation, whether they're what you would consider a demon. It doesn't matter. If you are all powerful, you remember who you are, and you understand the game, you're golden.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it. It really is about, knowing that technology helps you defend yourself against it.
That's true. Good point.
And really the only defense is a good offense. So learning to remote view, learning to even tap into what's inside of you and the potentials that you have. All these things are a muscle and
agreed.
Agreed. Like anybody can be taught to but prime example, I'm an audio engineer. There are literally tapes out there that you can go out and buy to teach you how to recognize frequencies by sound. By how to hear a tone and go, yep, that's 1.5K. And it will train your ear, it will train your brain, everything else. But you got to be ready for the fact that now you might be like me and hear somebody's car stereo 3 houses away through your wall.
Yeah, because you're sensitized to
because now you're sensitized. And my wife can hear none of that. I can hear like almost words out of songs through our wall and front window.
It's cool. You have like Spider-Man hearing.
It's great, but it can be pretty troublesome sometimes when you're trying to shut down the old monkey brain.
True.
So yeah, you got to learn to kind of like weigh the positives, negatives, and you got to learn the fact that yes, when you sensitize yourself to something, don't forget you're sensitized to it.
I got chills. That was such a brilliant point. I have to stop you. I don't think you know how brilliant that was. I'm going to also talk about how people are always like, I want to see like you do. I want to hear like you do. I want to know like you do. I want to experience the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension. And I say, do you? Do you? And they're like, yeah. Teach me. I'm like, I make them sign disclaimers because if you see the fourth dimension and fifth dimension fully, I'm telling you, the first time you do, you will wet your pants. Man, woman, big, little, child, you will wet because it's terrifying. The fourth dimension is one of the darkest, the most terrifying dimensions close to the third that there is. And so they're like, that's so cool. You can see people's little grandma and relatives and their husbands and wives and children and pets that have passed. Yeah, that's really cool. But I don't tell you, I don't draw, I don't describe because you don't want to know the horror that I see, the evil beings that I see, the bone chilling, makes you want to crawl under your bed stuff that walks around. I mean, it's not one-sided. And that's why I hate the love, and I hate the love and light community. It's not, no dimension is all bunnies and unicorns and love and rainbows unless you're very close. You're in the 700th dimension, almost all the way back to the all. I have a friend who this is her first time here in the game. And she came, as she remembers, has full memory, she came from being like color and sound with about 4 other beings. And they were just, love is actually a very low frequency, guys, believe it or not. There's much, much better and bigger things than the love that we know here, to put it that way. It's just a very poor word and understanding of upper dimensions, the densities. But she came from joy and bliss, let's say. And, our language isn't good because we're not really supposed to be using language. But anyway, she came from that. So there are places that are, rainbow bunnies and unicorns, but they're very, very, very high. We want to experience the contrast. Some of us are bored of love and bliss. We want to get a little dirty. You know what I'm saying? That's why we came here.
Yeah. And, with that in mind, because, of course, like we've said before, like we've said with Lindsay Sharman, with you, to know these things is great, but there also comes with the burden of knowledge, the responsibility of that knowledge and the application. And the fact that, yes, knowing how to remote view means that you could do these things. Is it the most responsible use to be doing that? Is it the best use karmically to be doing that? That whole Spider-Man with great knowledge, with great power comes great responsibility. And such a true modicum that we have to truly, truly keep ourselves on top of in this day and age. But let's start getting into the process of remote viewing, because once again, there's the process that was used by the military, things like that, and and the main reason was true experimentation. And the only way to do true experimentation is that blind experimentation of, here's an envelope with something in it. Tell me what it is. And, really doing that true placebo effect type of double blind study. That was a lot of the reason for the origin of that. Like you said, you don't necessarily need anything in a blind envelope to be able to remote view. That process isn't a necessity to the action.
Right. I mean, I actually encourage, one of the first exercises when I teach a more free-flowing style of remote viewing is I encourage you to get with someone like, I know what my daughter's apartment or house looks like. I've been there, obviously. So, I encourage them to do things with people they know where they feel safe, where they won't feel foolish if they're wrong. A lot of how we block our abilities, and like you said, building that muscle, is we're afraid to be wrong. We're afraid to sound stupid. We're afraid to make mistakes.
Sure.
I'm telling you, every remote viewer, every psychic, every empath, every whatever you want to call them, has made mistakes because you misinterpret. It's not even that you've made mistakes. You might not even have ever made a mistake, but you misinterpret information. You have to learn a lot about you and how information comes to you. Do I know it? Do I feel it? Do I hear it? Do I see it? There's different styles even of remote viewing. Even though we're using the word viewing, there's also smells when you go into somebody's house and walk around. You might have a smell. A lot of times I know the spirits because I smell the perfume. I walked into my garage. I smelled men's cologne. Well, either there was a man wearing heavy cologne in there, or there's a spirit, wearing heavy cologne in there,
Like you said earlier, even viewing people and viewing situations, whenever you hop into the brain of an addict, like it may be the fact that like addiction smells like wet dog to you.
Exactly.
But the one common thing with every addict that you hop into is I always smell wet dog.
Exactly. Oh, that's so really.
That's
interesting.
So I mean, I'm just saying,
you're reminding me of the people that smell death. Some people smell death. I see death, like I see the shadow of death on people, but a lot of people smell death. I'm kind of glad, because I don't think death's probably so super pleasant just because it involves like the avatar decaying, know. But
yes,
you're reminding me of that.
But thinking of it in that concept, where it's going to be activating different centers of your brain.
Yes. And we're individual. We all, our brain chemical as the tool, the avatar is the tool, as you say. We have low dopamine, high dopamine, low serotonin, and high serotonin. We are in inflammation with histamine. We're not in inflammation with histamine. All that makes a difference on our interpretation. And so, again, I encourage you to, work with a family member or a good friend. And what I have them do is I have them hide something very distinctive, something like like a purple elephant statue. And you say, okay, I'm going to hide you start simple. You start with giving them more information, and you say, I'm gonna hide the purple elephant statue, and then you're going to come over to my house, remote view my house. I always go. I don't know. I just always go when I remote view, but you can remote view. I'm going to remote view your house. You're going to tell me where I put this, purple elephant statue. So you don't have to start out, tell me what I hid, tell me what color, tell me where it is. You start simple because it builds confidence. And you're like, you hid it in the fireplace. And there's no way, like, you wouldn't really guess that. Like, who would guess that you'd hide it in the fireplace? So then it builds this tremendous, you're like so proud and you gain confidence. And so the next time, you do that a couple more times. And once you're comfortable with that and you're like, right. Then you're like, well, tell me what color of the thing that I hid and where I hid it. So we don't approach it, all or nothing, where we have these deep failures. We build on triumphant successes. And that gives you the courage. And even with being psychic and speaking what you know or what you hear, psychically in the timelines for the future or the present, or about somebody's life or body, I also encourage that you speak it. And again, start with a safe person, that you feel safe with. Yeah. That if they're like, no, I don't have any green dresses in my house, and I don't know what you're talking about. Don't wear a green dress. I don't own a green dress. But what's interesting about that? Sometimes somebody will tell you, even when you're practicing, I don't own any green dresses. And then they're like, oh, crap, I forgot. I put one in the giveaway box in the garage. Sometimes you're right, even when someone tells you you're wrong. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And, even once again, those, I guess what you would call close hits, not necessarily a hard hit where it's like, yep, I'm wearing one right now. But like, my mom came in with a green dress yesterday.
Exactly.
Things like that. And, what is there necessarily a difference between, I guess, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and telekinesis and remote viewing? And I mean, of course, I would assume the fact that they are all akin.
Honestly, if you're good at one, you can do them all. You can be good at all of them. And I would put forth the theory you're actually using all of them when you remote view. I would put forth that theory, and I would have to kind of, talk to you and see how you work to kind of prove that. But it really feels like that, at least when I remote view. I use a little bit of all of that, depending on the situation, or some of it. And when we scan people, because I have a panel where there's like maybe 50 different types of psychic abilities, which we don't even know most of them, but there are like a lot of different that we aren't taught or know. But people are coming up like with 30. Like I've never really had anyone test for less than 30. So how sad is that we have 30 psychic abilities and we're probably not even using partially more than one or two? I think it's really sad because we're just super, like, we get so caught up in the avatar and hung up in the avatar, we forget that we're infinite spirit.
Yeah. And, that is a really good point to bring up because remote viewing happens and remote viewers are across the board. It's not anything of anybody of a certain political mindset, anybody of a certain spiritual mindset, anybody of a certain religious mindset. The experiences of Project Stargate and the research done and the findings found are that literally anybody can be trained in this. There was SRI for a long time. I remember I used to hear, I want to say I ordered the SRI videotape that you could order back in there. It may actively still be in a box in my mom's garage. I'd love to find that thing and just like transfer it as a 20-something year piece of history. But I remember back in the day, they had their ad that would run on Coast to Coast, and you could, order the videotape and see what it was all about, and then order the course, stuff like that. And it was always fascinating to hear about. And a lot of that is what began my work in dream work and in dream travel and going to sleep with a purpose, going to sleep with the concept of finding an answer to something.
Yeah, I love that.
And I guess they're kind of akin, almost the same, but not really. Mine was definitely much more of a guided meditation that I was going to the same place every night. And that place that I went, I was going to meet my guide, and me and my guide would go and do things and talk, and explore. And that was my process to get to answer to. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I astral traveled at any point. I definitely came to that.
Ask you that. You're going out of body.
Well, I definitely came to the point of like mental crash where things started happening, and then I just felt that crash back into my body.
Cool.
I've definitely felt that. So there was that moment just before release. But I guess that's what's hard for a lot of people, I suppose, is you do have to get ready for at least a few moments of you are not in control, right?
Yeah, I call it, sometimes when I snap back into my body, it feels like infinite falling, like you're going to fall forever, but you don't. You like hit the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's scary. You got to get used to it. You have to give up control and surrender. And again, it's anti-program. We're taught all this stuff is dangerous and unsafe, especially if you're from a standard religious background. You're taught that, Ouija board is dangerous and portals are dangerous and psychic things are dangerous and psychics are what isn't dangerous, in some religions.
Sticking your face in the fan is dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So to get to the point where you're like, there is no real death. Yes, there's death of the avatar. Yes, we miss the beings and the animals and the relationships of people that pass. But pull back. We're eternal beings. I mean, most animals have spirits, not all, but most people have spirits. If you choose, you can continue the relationship, as many people know, even if you're in 3D and they're in 12D, or, they're on another planet in another body and living another life, and you're here. Like, the non-locality is so huge in all of the things that we're talking about. You are not taught that. You're taught the opposite. You're taught that you can't know all things. You can't be connected to all things at once, like past, present, and future, for example. You can't be connected to all dimensions. Really, when I talk about densities and dimensions, I'm misspeaking, because all dimensions exist on that overlap. So right now we have access to the all. Right now we have access to the 7th and the 27th and the, I don't know how many dimensions there are. I've never figured it out between here and the all, but and it's so cool. If you understand non-locality, you're way toward developing your psychic abilities. But if you're under the programming of science, not that all science is wrong, it's not. Yeah. But you have to realize that even a materia medica from a medical textbook, or a materia medica from Chinese medicine or herbal medicine, this is a viewpoint, usually of one person or a group of persons, of how they see the world, of their relationship with plants, of their relationship with maybe ETs. We hear these abduction stories, of their relationship with psychic abilities. And we take that as gospel truth. But what is truth for someone else is not necessarily truth for you. Again, opposite of what we're taught. We're taught like, this is a couch, and couches look like this. Yeah. And this is the food program. I mean, you go to any country, they're going to eat a minimum of 3 meals a day. You don't find that odd? Any culture, any country, do we not see that that's a matrix game program? I mean, some of these things are so obvious that have been laid on us. But I would ask you, what is true for you? You know what's true for me? 1 meal a day is true for me.
Yeah.
What is true for you? We have to start pulling out and saying, wait a minute, I'm an individual. Again, your government is never going to treat you like an individual. The military, I mean, they'll tell you. I mean, I come from a military family. They definitely don't treat you like an individual. A school is not necessarily even you're going to be put into, don't they tell us, isn't it interesting that they tell us when you go to school, you enroll in a program.
Yep.
a program of study to tell us. I
want to say my wife's nephew was in 8th grade, and we were all like, we were out playing Keno as the family, you know, like having dinner, things like that at a place in Massachusetts. And he was talking about how school was really boring sometimes. And, you know, there's a couple of subjects I like, but a lot I don't. And I was like, hey, buddy. And we had a pretty just conversational relationship for an 8th grader. And I was like, you know, let me explain something to you. I learned probably up around your age that school was a chance for me to see my friends 8 hours a day. You're going to have some work to do. I was like, what you are in right now is, quote, the Hessian school system, my friend. And what you are being trained to do is the same menial 8-hour task all day long. It's called busy work. And when you go clock in for the man every day, not every hour is spent doing something actual. You probably get about 2.5 hours of actual work done. The rest of it is process and fill out these forms this way just because. So that's what you're training for. You're training to literally be able to get through life on the daily as a worker bee in the world.
Obey.
And,
no question.
And you have to see it as that. And that's okay. Like, hey, that's training. You know,
and if you choose that, that's okay. I never ever want to make anyone feel small if they have no interest in being psychic, because I will say something about those people. And even if they are fire creation, if you want to fully immerse yourself in a 3D marriage and a 3D job and a 3D house and a 3D money program and a 3D education, there's no judgment here. I don't want anyone to think I'm judging that. If you have no interest in psychic abilities or remote viewing or any of the things we're talking about, guess what? You chose the 3D as an experience, and you're in full experience. Bravo. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. But some of us have been here a lot. I've been here a lot. You've been here a lot. And we're, well, I'll speak for myself. We're done. We're ready to start getting ready for the next life and remembering who we are. And that's okay, too. You don't have to love 3D, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, you know, I tell it to people I work with and contractors I work with all the time. Hey, not everybody is made for the freelance lifestyle. Not everybody is made for that 24/7 hustle. And the fact of, I may be working on Christmas. But when I work on Christmas, I get paid double.
No,
so feel free to call me for a Christmas gig, folks.
Not everyone's an entrepreneur. For sure, not everybody wants to have their own business or wants that responsibility or wants that intensity. You know, we're all different and we're all, you know, and that's what I love about this reality. Everything I believe is real. So if I believe in the programming and I believe in the school system and I believe in the medical system and I believe in the legal system and I believe in the politicians and I believe in the wars, great. That it's real for me and that's what I'm choosing. Now, here's where the wrinkle comes in for me, Chris.
Okay.
The mind-wiping technology. Are they really choosing it if they don't remember who they are? Now, if they remember who they are and they're choosing it, that's a different scenario for me. So that's where I feel people like you and I come in. We are here for the people that want to choose something different. You know, we're here for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And much like we've said on the show numerous times, much like we've said with you, we all think that to affect change in the world, that we have to change the whole world or the whole paradigm, and you don't. You just have to nudge the carrier wave next to you. That's it.
Dude, you're giving me chills.
One out of five people who lived in the United States took place in the American Revolution. 1 out of 5. The other 4 looked at him and pointed and went, "You are a nutbag."
From a proud family that did, thank you.
You know, like quite literally. So the fact is, you don't have to change the whole world. It's not an over-surmountable obstacle. It's not making a mountain out of a molehill. It's literally kicking a little bit more dirt on top of the molehill, people.
Yes, the butterfly effect. Like,
yeah.
I just watched the butterfly today, and like, they flap their wings like thousands of times, maybe hundreds of thousands of times, but just one butterfly flap has a ripple effect in the whole multiverse, not even just in our universe, but the multiverse.
Even just the ripple effect. Take 2 stones, throw them in the pond, and watch the third wave get bigger when they meet.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's little changes. It's not even change your whole diet tomorrow. It's not even give up your job and go move to a desert island. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying little tiny incremental, decisions that make your life better. It's not what, and you know what? For some people, a great life is living in a 1-room cabin in the woods. And to some people, and this is true, Chris, that's someone's idea of hell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they're called glampers. They're the people who can't go glamping without like their makeup mirror and batteries and I gotta what do you mean we don't have power at the campsite? What do you mean we don't have power at the campsite? How am I gonna do without watching my Yellow Jackets on a Sunday night?
You're
maybe you toast some marshmallows and just be still and listen, but and we've got you for about another 30, 45 minutes or so, but let's start going through a typical remote viewing session for those who haven't gone through one. How do you start out? What is the process of a remote viewing session, Dr. Kimberly?
Yeah, and again, my process for me is different from the military style too. So of course I don't do the military style because I was born natural remote viewing. So really for me, and it is this simple. So, I mean, for me, I'll give you an example. Nobody hire me for this because I'm not currently doing this. I just turned someone down for this job, by the way, but I used to do a lot of cheating remote views. So is my husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever cheating. Yes, PI work. I used to do a lot of PI work. And so what I would do is first I would stay out of their bodies because I don't want to merge if I don't have to because there's an energy dig. My energy is generally high than anyone I'm going to merge with. So who benefits? They benefit, I lose. How that works.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't go into their bodies. So what I do is they send me a picture, of the suspected cheater, and then a picture of the person, that's hiring me. Of course, I usually know what they look like, and and you'll understand this languaging, but I find the frequency signature in past or present, and I find them in a scenario. Now, I don't necessarily find them right now because right now they might be, drinking a beer on the couch watching the game. So why am I going to go look at them now? Like that's not going to tell me from the outside if they're cheating necessarily. So what I do is I scan through. I know what the frequency is of infidelity. I know what the frequency is of sex. I know what the frequency is, and I know what it feels like. I scan through their field where we hold all of our memories, not just all of our memories of this life, or not just all of our memories of the past lives, but all from the time we broke out of consciousness, from the all of our memories. Now, the technology that they use, they don't wipe our memories. They block us from remembering. So they put something between our spirit and the memory. So they don't literally, when we say memory wiping, they don't literally wipe your memories. They either implant false memories, which makes things really confusing, or they block your access to the memory. So that languaging is a little wrong when I use it and other people use it. But so I go into the field, and guess what? It's easier for me because I shouldn't really say this because now they'll probably make some new technology or improve this. But I've never had a problem accessing someone's memories. I have more problem accessing mine than I do other people's because I'm coming from the outside, and they're putting the technology between your spirit and your memories. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they're not blocking me from accessing your memories. So I go to his field or her field, because we all know women cheat too. And I scan through till I find sexual addiction, where they're in a strip club. Some people consider that cheating. Or I find when they're having this intense heart connecting, all cheating isn't sexual. Yes. Sometimes what I find is repeated coffee dates and these long, and you can feel, that's when I do merge. I check it. I'll merge with her. I'll merge with him when I see the scenario. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, like these people are like soulmates. Like they're like closer than he's ever been to his wife or husband or what, you know, whichever way it is. And, you know, I have to decide how much I'm going to tell and how I'm going to present it. And that's why I don't do it anymore. I mean, I've helped a lot of people. I will say this. Every person I've ever remote viewed has gotten a divorce. That's one reason it's kind of depressing I don't do it. Because let's go backwards. Let's spin this backwards. If you have to hire a private detective or remote viewer because you think your significant other's cheating, you have your answer already. You don't have to actually hire them. If you suspect it, you're intuitive. You're reading the frequencies. You know they are. You don't need me. You don't need a PI. That's why I don't
what
take
you
it. So
probably need to do is explore what's going on between the two of you to begin with, because there's probably something amiss. To whether there's an infidelity or not going on. It's probably the fact that there's something amiss in you about what's going on between you. You know? You know, it's interesting as we're having this conversation. I would say people like you, audio engineers, people that have been in radio, musicians, piano players, people that played a musical instrument for many years, people that can read music, people that love music, have listened to a lot of music and a lot of styles of music. That's all frequency. You're going to slip into things like remote viewing a lot easier, because I just realized talking to you, which I've never formally mentally realized before, so much of how I remote view, it all goes back to frequency. Of course, you know, that's kind of like my whole life for many, many years. But I still work, even as I'm explaining it, I'm still explaining remote viewing in terms of frequency, how I do it and what I'm looking for. And, you know, when I need to merge, just to check from the outside, I can't always pick up, like, you know, there's that feelings that we have when we're with someone that we're in love with or we're sexually attracted to. So I only merge to get confirmation of what I'm seeing on the outside as I'm observing them. But this all happens in microseconds. So I can hit this event, then hit this event, then hit this event, then hit this event. And then I put together kind of a compilation. And then also I walk out and I look at their car. And so sometimes I can get a license plate, and I've gotten license plates, and then that's created some legal problems for me. Sure. Because then I end up being pulled in divorces in court, and it's a mess because they chase down these people and threaten them. I mean, it's just a mess. I'm telling you, when you're a good remote viewer, it can be real messy. Do you see what I'm saying? well, yeah. And I mean, I was going to say, especially the quote hopping in, I would imagine that there's a big reason that you don't do that anymore. And that's just really the fact of ethical quandary at some point, you know? Are you hopping into somebody for the right reason? Right. What are you, and not that like you're going in there and putting some kind of psychological wall or doing it, but I've never done that. But even still, it can kind of come to the point of, oh, I found somebody's diary, or oh, I read the diary I found. You know? It is violating. I mean, I'm basically violating someone's privacy for money, or I was. I don't do that anymore. Exactly. And I don't have to do it, because if I wanted to do it, I could do it with the app. And I don't do it at all, just because I've been really humiliated being called in on divorce cases. Imagine a remote viewer being called in against their will to give. It's just a mess. It's a mess. And I get really... The court system isn't set up for anything psychic, obviously. So you get raked over the coals. It's just not worth it. Yeah. It's not worth any amount of money to get involved in that. But that is my process. It's kind of like tapping. Okay, so here's my recommendation, actually. If you guys spend time learning how to read frequencies, which you actually already do, when you go house shopping, you read frequencies. You're like, this house feels really warm, and it makes me feel good. This house feels really cold. Oh, I went one time with my realtor. She thought it was like a nut job. So we go on this property. It felt kind of dicey, and I saw a couple things, but I mean, that's pretty typical. There's always stuff on every property. I open the front door and I walk in, and I felt like I was going to throw up, which anyone who knows me and has ever heard me talk knows that that's a sign of a high level demonic dark energy for me. That's how I bodily react to it. So I said, I'm not looking at this house. I'm not walking through this house. And I turned around and walked out. And my realtor is like, what's wrong with you? And she like walked around the whole house. She went upstairs. There was a bunch of it's just so. This place is great. It's so spacious.
she can't read frequency. But you guys, a lot of you guys that are listening to shows like this can. You have to start honoring that. You walk in a house and you have that bodily reaction. You walk in a room, you walk in a business meeting, you walk on a date, you walk down an alley or a parking garage or a store.
Amen.
Start honoring those frequencies, those bodily reactions. That's knowledge, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's literally knowledge of you being a part of that same frequency and acknowledging the fact that, much like any physics, you know, like I could touch this crystal right now, and quite literally the whole reason I'm touching a crystal, by the way, doctor, I know you can't see me over the phone, but, I'm touching a crystal right now. Now, if I was to vibrationally be able to, all of that is because my electron shell is repelling the electron shell of this crystal. By all physics, me and this crystal are both sharing an electron shell with you thousands of miles away right now.
Yeah.
However, if I was to hit the same resonant vibrational frequency of this crystal, my hand would go through it.
Yeah.
My hand would pass right through the crystal. So,
right. Technically, that is possible, that you can raise your frequency to, again, above, is actually above in the case of some physical structure like your house, and go through walls. I have only raised my frequency to where the walls disappear. I have not, that I know of, in this body, walked through a wall. It's the same with levitation. As you embody these upper dimensions and bring them down into the third dimension, then you have the qualities, as you're saying, the resonant qualities of these dimensions, like levitation, like walking through walls. And that is in this physical body. So, and we know it's possible. We've seen it. We've heard it. You know, a lot of the monks have a lot of these, Tibetans, again, the Tibetan monks have a lot, you know, they levitate fairly easily. And we see that. I mean, we might not believe it, but there's a lot of videos of it. You can go Google it, you know, tonight and watch them on YouTube. So it is possible.
Oh, absolutely. It's possible. And you know, we are finding more and more and more that these things are being confirmed by quantum physics. These ideas that meditators, yogis, even remote viewing, and the strange science of remote viewing and how it's possible. Quantum mechanics and quantum physics are proving on the daily. And it's really fascinating to see kind of the reverse, where that Isaac Asimov concept of when high technology comes to a certain people, it's like magic. We've kind of reversed that, and now the magic is science. This thing that was once like thought about, taught about for millennia as only a certain people can do it or are tapped into it. No, it's that only 1 out of 5 people are willing to say, yes, that's there. That's even a possibility. So out of that 20%, you have to carve out the ones that are capable, you know, which drastically lowers the percent from the actual 20 it should be.
And I would throw in Willie. I mean, I still regularly face a lot of harassment and ridicule for who I am. And you have to be able to take that in order to walk in your abilities and, you know, even improve your abilities. You have to put yourself out there and be willing to take that backlash, let's say, that you're still going to get in 3D. You're not going to get that, you know, when you're going in the 8th dimension. They're going to be like, what do you mean you're a remote viewer? Who cares? Everybody's a remote viewer.
We don't care how you came to the party. Welcome to the party, guy.
I mean,
we don't care if you took a bus, a subway, an Uber, if you walked. Welcome to the party.
And again, I think it's so funny that everybody wants to see the 4 and 5, you know, 6th dimension, whatever. But all the beings in the, you know, 4th, you know, 5th and 6th dimension, they're like, what do you mean you're a remote viewer? Yeah, hello, everybody here is. Like, who cares? Like, everybody's psychic. Everybody knows things and can change timelines and can astral travel and I was telling everybody's like, what do you do before you go to sleep? And I'm like, I spiritual battle. And I go, what do you mean spiritual battle? And I'm like, I battle all my enemies in the astral. And they're like, huh? Of course you do. What does that mean? But to me, this is like breathing. But if I say that in public, I mean, they're going to be like, you need a psychic evaluation.
Yeah. Well, and, it really is much, like you said, much like any point of faith. It has to be something that is concrete to you, that is immovable.
That's right. That's so good. That's so good. I love what you just said. I love that. And we call it power standing. And, when we look at the third chakra, you can tell the people that are willing to go there because your third chakra is in your gut. It's the center of your being and you're grounded. And you have to be, I know you guys probably don't think I'm grounded, but you actually have to be very, very grounded to do this work because you can't be easily dissuaded or you won't progress to an excellent skill and a high level if you let people influence you. You have to be very, very, like you said, immovable in who you are.
Yeah. Very much resolved in the fact of this is me, this is who I am, this is what I believe, and just being okay with it, very much accepting yourself for who you are. And that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people. We talk about it like it's really easy, Dr. Kimberly. But even, underneath this shirt I'm wearing right now is a tie-dye shirt. And even for me, as somebody who mixed hippie jam bands and stuff like that, it took me till my mid-40s to ditch everything except for tie-dye.
Wow, I love it.
And I'm either in black because I'm blending into the background at a show, or I'm in tie-dye.
Oh, I love it. No shame.
It's the extreme. But most people, I think, live in that kind of extreme. Most people, I think, have to put on some kind of mask when they go into work. Like we were saying a while ago, and it's hard to accept yourself for who you are. And until you are really, really comfortable in your own skin, it can be hard to travel outside your skin.
And don't think I always was. I mean, I was put in a family where I was deliberately handled and traumatized and made to feel small. And so there was a lot of self-worth issues in me. And only, I would say, in the last 10 years have I really overcome. And now I try to practice radical self-love and nurture and also radical self-forgiveness. If you can really forgive yourself anything, then you can release fear and shame and you're pretty much golden.
Yeah. And, I'm actively showing up on screen right now some of the panels and classes and things like that you do. Let's spend the last few minutes talking about what services you provide that help people in the world of remote viewing, that help people prepare themselves for the world of remote viewing, astral travel, astral battle on the nightly, as you're saying. Well, because we've said it before, and I'll always say it, that we don't necessarily destroy our demons. We just kind of learn to live in the world with them.
Oh, totally. And I only battle those that I can't negotiate with. And people are like, "What do you mean? You can negotiate with your enemies?" Yeah, they're individuals.
It's called the truce. It's called the truce. Oh, we have them actively with a couple countries.
Yep, exactly. I love that you say. I've actually used to have an enemy with one of the major gods, and he was after me, and I almost died by getting struck by lightning, and a long story. And anyway, we're under a great truce and favors with each other now. So again, it's a little bit shamanic. People would place it under shamanism, but I just place it under, the gods. A lot of you guys are the gods and goddesses. So you do have these relationships. Some of you are friends. Some of you are lovers. Some of you are enemies. Some of you are married to these beings. but we don't remember. But if you can remember and you know who you are, you can have the most brilliant assets. I actually have a weird little story I'd like to tell before I answer your question, if that's okay. So I was communing in my woods with the trees in the forest, having my la-la time this afternoon. It was a beautiful day in North Carolina. And I live in the mountains and the woods, of course. It's just me. and I have this man, and he has a circular driveway. So he can come out his driveway to the woods across the street from him, or he can come out his driveway directly across from my house and stare at my house and be all nosy. You know, like sometimes old men have too much time on their hands. No offense, but they seem to. And he's just kind of that nosy neighbor. So I try not to let him annoy me. But when you move to the mountains in the middle of the woods, you want what? You want privacy. So, of course, he does sometimes get under my skin. So I was communing with the trees, and the trees were like saying, and they were just telling me things I already knew. You know, you have guardians and the Sasquatch and Dogman. That's a whole other conversation. But, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank you. And I had this really peaceful moment. All of a sudden, there was this huge crash. And I was just thinking about the neighbor this morning and how, why can't he come out the other side of his driveway? Because it sets off my cameras and bothers my dogs, but whatever. So there's this huge crash. And I'm like, oh, did one of my trees snap or fall? Because I'm like communing with the trees. You know, maybe they're trying to tell me something. So my dog started barking and I walked out front. Would you not know it? A giant tree had fallen over that side of the driveway that I was just thinking about in my head, complaining about, you know, kind of to myself this morning. And you know what I said to my daughter? I texted my oldest daughter and I said, never make a goddess angry who's friends with a tree. And you guys think that's coincidence? There's no coincidence in the Matrix. Like, you guys are all that powerful. But anyway, I just had to tell you that little story. That was a random little story. But so we are much more, we can influence matter. We can, you know, in that case, I believe the trees aligned with me, not, you know, a god or goddess, but, you know, but a lot of you are, you know, were written about, you know, they burned the Library of Alexandria for a reason. That was a random. They burned your history. They burned our memories, you know, or they tried, of course. They relocated under the Vatican, and that's a whole nother show. But, okay, so what do I offer? I offer monthly mentoring programs. I have Ultimate Awakening, which is woo, and then I have Ultimate Elite, which is woo-woo. And in Ultimate Elite, I try to keep you updated on things that I know about what's going on in the world, not what they tell you in mainstream media, not what they tell you in conspiracy, but what is really, really happening. And I have many ways that I get that information, but I share that in Ultimate Elite. And I also teach about things like karma. I just taught about the different types of fire creation spirits. So we're all like, everybody has a spirit, but wait, are there different types of spirits? Yes, there are. And I taught about that. I teach about karma. I taught a whole thing about soulmates. Do you have a soulmate in 3D? Do you have multiple soulmates in 3D? Have you met more than one soulmate? Are you married? Are you with your soulmate? Do you have a soulmate outside of 3D? So we went through all that. So we talk about a lot of these esoteric topics and we dig really deep. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people just do the standard rubber stamp, you know, this is the way it is, and it's not necessarily that way. So I try to give a different point of view based on my point of view, of course. And then we offer scans. We offer MILAB scans. Have you been abducted? Have you been taken? Do you suspect you're being taken? Are you interacting with incubus, succubus? And I'll tell you almost everybody is. I can just say that right now. All sorts of things we do in the MILAB scan, and also in our TAP. We have a TAP scan, which is a lower price scan. So if you say there's something really weird going on with my neck, or I want to know what I need to do to up level spiritually, or just scan me and tell me what my spirit's saying, you know, that's what that's for. And then we have a full scan, and a full scan is going to cover metaphysical, physical, emotional, mental, life things, food, like pretty much everything.
And for all you TIs out there, she's also got an MK Ultra scan.
Yeah, we can tell you if you're targeted, how you're being targeted, who's targeting you. If you're V2K, if you have eye implants, if we can tell you like all those details that the, you know, TI community, you know, you guys know what I mean, talk about. Are you being, you know, followed, or do you just think you're being followed? You know, all that stuff.
Now, what about the new boot camp that you have going on?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I forgot about that. That actually fits in with our remote viewing conversation because what I do, and we have a boot camp. It's going to be in June, and the reason it's so far out is because we have an artist that's drawing your guys' spirit family and or spirit guides. And how I see who your spirit guides are, as soon as you enroll in the class, they usually come to me actually, or I go into your field and they're just there standing, you know, around you. And so then our artist is going to draw. You're actually going to get a picture that you can frame or throw in the trash, whatever you want to do with it, of your spirit guides. And I'm going to tell you all about them. And there's a good chance that a lot of them will come to class and they'll have messages and want to have conversations with you too. So we're going to do that live. And I'm going to teach about all the different types of guides that you have, because it's not just your grandma. It's not just your pet. It's ETs. It's Fae. It's Sasquatch. There's just so many, it is animals, but not necessarily domestic animals. It's trees. It's plants. The beans coming in, we already have I think we have 10 people registered already. There is a limit of 50 because obviously there's a lot of work for me to do and there's a lot of work for the artists to do. So anyway.
Well, and it's just the fact of with any class.
You don't want it to be 20.
Well, you want to make sure to give the individual attention to each student that they deserve and require. And in addition to that, you also have one-on-one sessions. And I'm here to tell you folks, before Dr. Kim's first appearance, she asked me to send her a photo and did an auric reading on me. And the information that she shared with me before the show and even on the show, because I remember Billy Joe Kane, our good friend from Radical Empathy Education and PBJ Learning, was in studio. And his jaw was dropping off camera. You proceeded to tell me things like my body craves lavender, CBD, that I want to actively be around crystals all the time. All kinds of things like that were really, really phenomenal for you to know that had you never been inside the walls of my home, you would probably never, ever know. So I am here to attest to, at the least, your reading ability. And
they're very specific, you guys. It's not someday this is going to happen somewhere. It's specific, right? It's specific.
Yeah. And now with your aura technology, everything else, what do people have to do to get one of those readings done by you?
Yeah, they just have to go to my website. It's under services, I think. Yeah, okay. We're working on the website, but I think they're there. And one-on-ones only open up occasionally. We have a live event usually once a year, but that's full. That's in Sedona this year. That's going to be phenomenal. But we do have live events. And again, that's why it's nice to come into my monthly mentoring programs, because that's my core group. The other benefit of coming into either one of my monthly mentoring programs is you have now, I shouldn't say this, but you have access to me. So I'm not going to nickel and dime you if you ask me a question. If you say, people ask me which dog to get, or my opinion on which the higher frequency dog, or they had a dream and what do I think about it? You get that light kind of daily, monthly access to me, and I'm not charging you for an email reading. I'm not charging you for a one-on-one, and I'm not charging you for a scan. Why? Because I believe in energy exchange. And you understand this too, Chris, if you're going to commit to support me and my family and my business and my vision and my work every month, then I'm going to commit back to you and give you more than just, the class. I'm also going to commit and invest in your life. Yeah.
Darn tootin'. Exactly. Because it is, hey, the universe is a slinky. They're real cool to look at. They don't do anything unless you actively play with them. You got to actively push for it to spring back and do its slinky thing. Otherwise, it just sits there. A lot of potential energy wound up in it. Nothing if you don't move it yourself. So thank you for always taking the time to come on, for talking about these topics, and for doing the work that you do out there, Dr. Kim.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for giving us a platform, all the people that you do. And, I just appreciate different points of views. You guys don't have to agree with all Chris's guests, but I think we can all agree in appreciation that he exposes us to a lot of things we may not have heard of or considered. And that alone opens up your field to possibility. And that's exciting. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And hold the line while we close things out, because, really, for me, the fact that, once again, just to loop it back to the beginning of the conversation this evening, our government spent millions of dollars on this. You can poop the idea all you want, but it was a successful program. It was a program that anybody involved with it will say, quote, the intelligence that we gathered was invaluable. When you gather invaluable intelligence, like, that's as good as boots on the ground, son. Like, that's pretty incredible to hear alphabet agencies say that it was that accurate. And once again, this is nothing that you have to be a part of any program to do. It's something that you can do with a modicum of training, things like that. Make sure, folks, to stop on by secretofeverything.com. That is the website for Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Make sure to stop on by that, set up your appointment with her. She can get you started on your journey of remote viewing, to say the least. More than that, she can help you in so many other ways. While you are online checking that out, make sure to stop on by the Knowledge Vault. That's where you can find things like Project Stargate. That's where you can find all of the amazing declassified documents and more. Make sure to stop on by. Check out our live stream. We are so happy to be coming to you live from events like our first one coming up at the end of April, the Bigfoot Road Show in Mineola, Texas. Cannot wait to be back out there, checking that out, to be back on the air with our good friends, the Millers, who are putting that on. Cannot wait to go out and be a part of the MUFON Symposium. Looking forward to all of these great events and meeting all of you folks in person at them. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, stay curious. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Curious Realm. Stay tuned for more guests, forbidden topics, and hidden truths. Download the official Curious Realm app and view the Knowledge Vault on our website, curiousrealm.com. Follow us on social media by searching Curious Realm. Curious Realm is available on your favorite podcast services, as well as YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV through the APR TV app, available on all app markets. Curious Realm is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more great content or to become a sponsor of Curious Realm or other podcasts, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com today. Thanks for listening. Stay curious. And remember, the other side is always watching.